The sixth model is called the conditioning model or conditioning perspective. So at its simplest, what it says is that drinking is basically a learned behavior, and so excessive drinking and abusive types of drinking would be learned too. No matter what type of conditioning you look at, like Pavlovian or Skinnerian or whatever it may be, it always gets down to the same thing, that experiences such as drinking alcohol are rewarding enough that people are likely to repeat that experience. And of course, the more positive the experience from that person's perspective, then far more likely to repeat the experience, but also to try and intensify the experience. It also has to do with, if you look at causal factors, with reinforcement. And what they mean by that is reinforcement, for instance, by people around you. If you hang out with people who drink or use drugs like you do, you're far more likely to continue that kind of behavior. And certainly you see with people that are developing problems with drinking that they tend to surround themselves with people more like themselves. So when we look at how we intervene from the conditioning model perspective, there's a couple of things. One is counter-conditioning, which means to give people a far more negative experience than a positive one. And there used to be treatment centers set up in that vein. They would have places that were set up very much like a bar. You walk in there and mirrored background and all these bottles of alcohol and your kind of music and dim lights, because drunks don't like bright lights. And you could drink your favorite drink, but before they let you in there, you'd get something like Antabuse, which will make you violently ill should you drink. Or in some cases, I believe they gave mild electric shocks. But the point is to make the experience a negative one, rather than a positive one. The trouble with this kind of model or treatment is that it's got to be reinforced. It's not the kind of thing that's just going to last throughout a lifetime as a rule. And that's why it probably didn't last for very long. The other ways, altered contingencies, simply meaning different choices would be available to you, or a type of relearning or disenabling. And if you look around the internet long enough, you will find models like this. There are programs like Moderation Management, which attempt to guide you into altering your drinking in some fashion. And if you looked at their website, for instance, you'd see some of their tools that they have in doing this kind of thing. So yeah, relearning. Some people apparently are able to do that. I would guess that the majority of people don't in the long run. So the appropriate intervention agents would be behavioral therapists, social workers with a clinical background who also understand behavioral interventions. So that's the conditioning. It's probably one of the easiest models to study and to research because it's behavior, right? And it's pretty easy to quantify behavior as opposed to attitudes or something a little bit more subjective. So that's conditioning model.